All right, everybody, this is Mike. Welcome to Bush League Gaming. So I don't know if any of you saw, but this last week, Dove Body Wash came out with a commercial. And in this commercial, they had a bunch of different ladies from all around the world. And they had all of these different physical attributes, we'll call them, right? So the idea of the commercial is they wanted to make the point that in video games, the characters that we play, we need a little bit more diversity in their physical being and physical status, right? So in this commercial, they had a few different ladies from around the world. So the first one that we'll see right off the top is kind of like a heavy set woman. And then they have someone that's in a wheelchair and then someone who seemingly has kind of a mental disability and all of this. So what they had done is they were calling for more diversity in the characters in which we play. And I think that's great. I think we should probably have a certain level of diversity. However, we need to keep it within the realm of reality here, even though I know that it kind of sounds dumb, but we're talking about video games and a majority of the things that you do in games, it's not realistic anyway. But as someone who is fat myself, I'm just going to kind of say it. Unless it's for comedic purposes, I don't want the character that I'm playing to be like a fat individual trying to run around and do things that physically someone of that stature would not be able to do. Right. So let's roll this tape and we'll take a look at it together and I'll give you a little commentary over, but then I'll show you what I'm talking about that, unless it's for comedic purposes, but let's check this out. So this is the lady that I had mentioned that they're doing this photo shoot off of the top. And what they're doing with this photo shoot is they're taking all of these pictures to then recreate this individual digitally and show what she would look like as a video game character. And personally, if I was trying to play a video game and that was the character that I was given, I would be like, what the hell is this? Like when I was playing one of the Star Wars games, I think it was, The Old Republic, I had chosen a Sith looking character and intentionally I made that character as fat as I possibly could because it was hilarious. But what was really funny is the more that I actually played the game and the more my character ran, the skinnier he got. So I thought that was really, really funny. And like, if it was for that kind of a reason, I think I could get down with that and that would be pretty funny to do. But in this circumstance, I don't necessarily dig it. Let's check this out. Let's continue. So 2 out of 3 gamers lack representation at Dove. They want to change that. And what Body Wash has to do with video games, I don't really know. So if you make that connection, go ahead and mention it down in the comments. Why? Because I'm kind of lost on that still, I think. Video game and be like, yo, this baby's fire. So we see this character from the girl that we just saw kind of burst through this billboard. Straight up, the first thing that I thought is this looks like it would either be a character that you create from one of the Saints Row games or as a throwback to those of us that had Dreamcast back in the day. She almost reminds me of one of the drivers that you would be able to choose in Crazy Taxi. Hey, well, they did a good enough job with kind of the afro blowing in the wind. But right here, look at how terrible these graphics are. Like, if this was my character, I would get sick of it very quickly because it would be like the comedic value of having this as my character right away would kind of be like, okay, well, now what? It's not only about self-esteem, it's about... See, it's the amount of time. Okay, so if we go back and we actually take a look at that, the reality of playing a character like that, holding like that big broadsword, it's just not realistic. Like, there's no way that this individual would be able to run around a map and strike things down with that big heavy sword without getting significantly out of breath, right? And once again, as someone who is fat myself, I know what it's like. I know what it's like if you're trying to run around and carry heavy things. It's just like, okay, it's not happening. But they talk about this character here that's in the wheelchair, and totally honest, one of my favorite characters of all time, Professor Charles Xavier is in a wheelchair. So you can definitely incorporate that kind of a thing into a badass character. And honestly, the way that they'd make this character look, it would be pretty cool. If you had a character that was in a wheelchair, but then the wheelchair, or maybe like, you know, once again, mental, they had some type of a special power where they could like really zoom around and go super quick. And I think that would be pretty badass. So I don't really see anything wrong with that level of representation, because there's nothing that person can do to kind of change this. But the person that's overweight, it's like, come on. Oh, this one's kind of tough. I could see this like going poorly very quickly when you're trying to, you know, be representative of individuals that, you know, have whatever disability that this individual does. I'm not too sure if it's like they have Down syndrome or what, but if you were trying to do a character that is kind of that persuasion and you do it poorly, it can very quickly go from an attempt to be representative to borderline insulting. So you need to really draw that fine line, and you need to make sure that if you're going to do that, you do it very well as to not insult these individuals. I actually was able to track down some incredibly rare footage with sound effects from a Splinter Cell game. If this person breathed, the main character breathed like a fat person breathes. Let's take a look. God, my back hurts. It's time for lunch. I hope they can't hear me. So there you have it. That's when we have the individual playing Splinter Cell, where the main character breathes like a very large person would breathe. But we also have this incredible video. One of my friends had told me that once you beat one of the Uncharted games, you can actually unlock a skin where instead of regular Nathan Drake, it's fat Nathan Drake. And I think what I saw online is they called him Donut Nathan Drake. And this is absolute hilarity. So let's check this out. This gameplay is so funny, where it shows the fat Nathan Drake, and he's like trying to chase down this airplane that's about to take off. And it's like, oh no, bro, like you're going, but there's no chance. Even someone who's an Olympic sprinter would never be able to catch this big fat guy. Actually, what would be very funny is if they made a character and you were allowed to choose how fat the character was, but based on the weight of the character that you choose, the difficulty scales. So if you're the big fat main character, everything is a little bit more difficult. You don't run as fast. You're not as quick on the draw when you need to get like your weapon from your holster. Your stamina runs out quicker. And even if you're like running through, in the instance of Uncharted, if you were running through a temple and some guys were like hot on your trail, you try to hop over a stone to get to safety, but you just can't physically do it. And instead of like dying and being like wasted, it pops up on the screen because you died and it says like fat. And it's like, no, you just physically can't do all of those things. But instead of having like expert mode or hard mode, that's how they ended up doing it. I think that would be hilarious. So my thought is, well, I don't really want my main character to be like a big fat guy. That's just real. But then I also saw this video of these guys doing parkour. And this was also where I got the idea of, in hard mode on the game that you're playing, to actually have like fat mode where you're going through the game and you just physically can't do like the front flips, and you can't physically jump the fence, and your stamina runs out sooner rather than later. And honestly, now that I'm watching this, realizing that like this individual could be the main character that I play as, maybe I'm changing my tune a little bit here. Maybe we actually do deserve to have someone like this in the game, because that would just be hilarious if you're like just running through and it's like your hitbox is way bigger, where it's like, oh no, you try to duck and hide behind like a barrel so the enemy can't shoot you, but then they like shoot your fat roll. That would be down. But anyways, that's all I got to say. I'm Mike. This is Bush League Gaming. I'll catch you on the flip flop later.